Freya from CIG created a thread detailing some things to look out for before releasing 3.23 to the EPTU, including price changes coming to all vehicles within the game. Some players who had grown accustomed to exploiting a broken economy to buy whatever ship they wanted for menial prices were understandably outraged at the prospect of having to work for something in the game. However, this isn't about making fun of upset players. Instead, let's cover the upcoming price changes that were leaked before the 3.23 EPTU broke the ship kiosk terminals. A very talented member of the Enclave compiled as many prices from as many ships as possible before these terminals became unavailable. Afterward, he also created an Excel sheet that compares the new prices with the old ones, even indicating how much the price increased. So, let's dive in and take a look at our sources. Before we do that, it's essential to note that this is all very subject to change, but it is interesting to get a look into the potential thought process for pricing that these ships are expected to undergo upon the full release of 3.23. Alright, so we're going to start off with the Aegis line, and we're going to begin with the Avenger series. This is the starter ship series for Aegis. Avenger Stalker went from 882,000 to 1.344 million. The Avenger Titan went from 785,000 to 1.232 million. The Avenger Titan Renegade went from 1 million to 1.68 million. And the Avenger Warlock went from 1.1 million to 2.2 million. These are starter ships. They're priced pretty fairly, I'd say. It's interesting to see, though, that the Warlock is the most expensive, and that makes sense because it does have the most out of any of the starter ships in terms of gameplay options and, I would say, uniqueness. The Eclipse did not change at all. It remains at 3.49 million. The Gladius went from 1.1 million to 2 million, and its variant, the Gladius Valiant, went from 1.4 million to 2.4 million. Pretty standard. It's a light fighter. It's a pretty good light fighter, right? It's a standard light fighter. Nothing really interesting here. It's nice to see that it actually costs a little bit more now. The Hammerhead is going from 12.4 million to 40 million. 40 million. That's quite a lot. That's a pretty big increase. I would hope that there is a performance increase tied with this price hike for some of these ships, especially the Hammerhead. As you guys know, it's actually pretty bad right now, and for that price, it better be pretty good for 40 mil. The Reclaimer is going from 15.1 million to 28.8 million. That's not bad, right? The thing makes a ton of money. I would have personally bumped it up to maybe 30 million, give it a nice rough 100% price increase, because this thing just pays for itself, right? The thing makes so much cash, you're going to pay it off in no time. The Redeemer is going from 8.6 million to 14.5 million. That's pretty fair, I would say. It's kind of in between that gunship and subcap role. It's always been a weird ship, right? But for 14 million, it better be better than what it currently is. The Retaliator is going from 4 million to 6.7 million. Interestingly enough about this is what sticks out is it's roughly double the amount of the Eclipse. I'm assuming that this is for the base model. I would assume anyway, because this thing is supposed to be getting modularity very soon. So perhaps this base model price, or is this factoring the torpedo bay, actually, as a matter of fact. So I'm assuming this is probably the torpedo bay price, but can't read too much into it. Sabre is going from 2.1 million to 3.8 million. And its variant, the Sabre Comet, is going from 2.3 million to 4.1 million. There you go. It's a little bit pricier than the Gladius. It makes sense. It's a medium fighter, so it should probably have a little bit more power, a little bit more price behind it as well. All right, let's take a look at the Vanguard series. The Vanguard Harbinger is going from 2 million to 9.7 million, which is actually pretty shocking. That's a 375% price increase. That puts this above the Retaliator in price. It's very odd. But hey, you know, this is just a leak. But yeah, 9.7 million for the Harbinger. And it was arguably the best one before 3.23. So I can kind of see it. Depends on how powerful those torpedoes end up being. Actually, yeah, I can see if the torpedoes are good, maybe, right? Vanguard Hoplite is going from 3.1 million to 7.8 million. That makes it the cheapest so far, it looks like, of the Vanguard. This is the dropship variant. Yeah, I'm fine with that. The dropship variant's not that special. The Vanguard Sentinel is going from 2 million to 9.2 million. Must be because of that E-War package that doesn't exist, right? So this is right behind the Harbinger in terms of cost. And the base model, the Vanguard Warden, is going from 3.3 million to 8.7 million. I don't have much to really say about that. I agree with the pricing for the most part. What does stick out to me about the Aegis line, however, is, like I said, the Harbinger and the Retaliator having such a drastic price increase. And the Harbinger actually ended up being more than the Retaliator. So we just have to wait and see. Anvil Aero is going from 972,000 to 2.1 million. This is totally fair. This thing being under a million was comical. The Ballista is going from 364,000 to 3.4 million. That's an 859% price increase. So I think we could kind of see here what's going on is the ground vehicles are now going to have prices comparable to aerospace. Well, maybe that means you're going to get some gameplay to back up that kind of pricing. That's crazy. All you ground citizens out there, you're going to be forking out the money. C8 is going from 400,000 to 811,000. The C8R is going from 900,000 to 468,000. So it's actually being cut in roughly half, which is pretty shocking. That's actually really it's a good ship, and it's being cheaper. And you get the med bed. I'm shocked by that one. C8X is going from 406,000 to 561,000. So for your little Pisces shuttle series, I think they're pretty evenly priced. None of them are over $1 million, and quite frankly, none of them deserve to be over $1 million. They're not that great, not even the C8R. The Carrack is going from 26.6 million to 37.4 million. That is a lot. That's less than a Hammerhead, actually. And this thing is arguably does more than a Hammerhead. That's a pretty okay price for what that ship is. Centurion is going from 287,000 to 2.7 million. 2.7 million for the Centurion, so it's getting the ballista treatment. So if you guys want to get some SHORAD together, it's between the Centurion and the ballista, working in tandem to shoot down aerospace, you're going to be paying a pretty penny. Again, let's hope it's worth it. F-7C Hornet medium fighter, 1.4 million to 3.2 million. The Wildfire, which is just a skin and like a bit of a loadout difference, is going from 2.2 million to 5 million. And the Super Hornet is going from 2.1 million to 5.2 million. I don't have much to say about this. These things it looks like you're just paying for skins and loadout variants. They're not really that different between any of them, and they're all interchangeable. The Gladiator is going from 1.9 million to 4.8 million. This is probably my favorite bomber in the game, just from looks-wise and concept. It's such a cool-looking ship. So, I'm alright with it, right? If a size 5 torpedoes hit, they better do some damage and it better be worth the price. The Hawk is going from 1.2 million to 2.9 million. That little piece of crap never really sees the light of day anymore. Hurricane is going from 1.2 million to 6.1 million. That is a pricey increase for the heavy fighter. I know that as of right now, it's not doing too good in master modes, but that's of course subject to change like everything else. But that is expensive. But it might be the new heavy fighter pricing that we're going with, right? Heavy fighters, if they're going to be powerful, they got to cost something. Spartan APC is going from 255,000 to 1.9 million, almost 2 million. Terrapin, this is Reddit's favorite worthless ship, is going from 2.5 million to 4.5 million. The Valkyrie dropship, the big fat Valkyrie dropship, is going from 4.4 million to 21.8 million. That's about 1 million. I think carries about over 20 people. So you're paying right there, you're paying 1 million per person that you can get killed together. So yeah, Anvil prices here. Nothing here really sticks out. I know there is no pricing for some variants of the Hornet yet, but I wouldn't read too much into that. And of course the F8's not on here, but that's not available really to buy in game yet, so we weren't able to really get the prices for that. So it looks all pretty fair to me. Valkyrie one stands out the most. Valkyrie better be good for 21 million. Alright, only two ships to talk about here. The Cartual fighter is going from 2.1 million to 8.5 million. And the Nox Racer is going from 350,000 to 864,000. Not a whole lot to talk about here. I'm assuming you're really just starting to pay the alien tax now that they were talking about in that CIG thread, but something being exotic. Argo Mole is going from 5.1 million to 14.1 million. That's a pretty significant price increase. So you're going to be paying for mining with your friends. The MPUV Cargo and MPUV Personal, these aren't really worth talking about. They're having a slight price increase to around 500,000 to 600,000. The Raft is going from 1.8 million to 5.6 million. And that's it for Argo that we have so far. Not too much to say here. You're paying a little bit more for your industrial ships. It's a little bit. Banu Defender is going from 2.7 million to 7.3 million. Not much to say here. This must just be the alien tax kicking in. So if you enjoy flying this little crab ship, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for it. Sometimes I forget the Consolidated Outland exists. So the Hover Quad is going from 88,000 to 172,000. Not a big deal. The Mustang Alpha is going from 251,000 to 768,000. The Mustang Beta is going from 404,000 to 768,000. The Mustang Delta is going from 663,000 to 1.4 million. And the Mustang Gamma is going from 627,000 to 1.4 million. And finally, the Nomad is going from 951,000 to 1.9, almost 2 million. Some people argue that that is the best starter ship, and looks like you're going to be paying for what some people consider to be the best starter ship, but I would disagree. The Crusader Hercules A2 is going from 5.5 million to 45 million, a 714% price increase. I could not agree more. This is a very powerful ship. It has a tremendous bomb load, and it is absolutely annoying to fight. This is a very justifiable cost increase. The C2 is going from 4.9 million to 24 million. And the M2 Hercules Starlifter is going from 5.2 million to 31 million. So for the Hercules line here, no brainer here. We've got the most expensive one being the A2, the least expensive one being the C2, and the second most expensive one being the M2. All fairly priced, I agree. The Ares Ion and Inferno are going from 2.8 million to 5.6 million, so they're both going to cost the same. You're just picking your flavor of damage. And finally, the MSR, everybody's favorite Millennium Falcon ripoff, is going from 4.9 million to 15.6 million. You are now paying for that Millennium Falcon Star Wars consumer tax, and I think you deserve it. Drake Interplanetary, from trash, to trash, for trash. The Buccaneer is going from 1.4 million to 1.9 million. The Caterpillar is going from 4.6 million to 15.8 million. It's pretty chunky. And the Corsair is going from 3.4 million to 7.6 million. The Cutlass Black is going from 1.3 million to 2.6 million. The Cutlass Blue is going from 2.4 million to 4.7 million. The Cutlass Red is going from 1.8 million to 3.6 million. And the Cutlass Steel is going from 1.3 million to 4.7 million. It's not bad for the Cutlass series. The Steel is appropriately priced. It is still a death trap, but is a significantly cheaper death trap than the Valkyrie, which you can carry just about as many people in. So the Cutter, which is what I feel is the best starter ship in a game, is going from 675,000 to 806,000, still under 1 million. The Dragonfly is going from 272,000 to 409,000. The Drake Herald Acme Rocket is going from 1.1 million to 1.6 million. And the Mule, the most expensive forklift in the game, is going from 15,000 to 172,000 for a whopping 1,052% cost increase. I cannot complain about the Drake line. These are all very reasonably priced. I think they are appropriately priced as well. I am shocked that the Corsair did not end up costing a bit more. And the Cutlass series is quite a bargain for the price. Well done, Drake. You've truly got my back. Let's see if Esperia is also subject to the alien tax. The Blade is going from 3.3 million to 9.2 million. The Prowler is going from 4.2 million to 22 2.1 million, and the Talon is going from 1.8 million to 3.8 million. So yes, Esperia is most certainly subject to the alien tax, the Prowler being the one that sticks out the most. This is supposed to be a stealth dropship that carries a pretty decent amount of people. I truly hope that one day it actually fulfills its role, but we shall see. How expensive can CIG make go-karts? Let's find out. The Greycat PTV is going from 5,000 to 74,000 for a 1,340% price increase. The Rock is going from 172,000 to 264,000. The Rock DS is going from 176,000 to 360,000. And the SUV is going from 12,000 to 25,000. So CIG can make go-karts pretty expensive. Kruger only manufactures two things, and that's the Merlin and Archimedes snub fighters. The Merlin is going from 135,000 to 336,000, and the Archimedes is going from 150,000 to 537,000. Nothing really to add here. The Mirai racers, we've got the Razor and the Razor EX. The Razor is going from 1.7 million to 1.8 million, and the Razor EX is going from 1.8 million to 1.7 million, so it's going down a little bit in price. Nothing more to add here. The MISC Freelancer is going from 1.6 million to 3.9 million. The Freelancer DUR is going from 1.9 million to 3.8 million. The Freelancer Max is going from 2.1 million to 5.4 million. And the Freelancer Miss is going from 2.5 million to 5.8 million. These things are long forgotten, desperately in need of a gold standard pass, and absolutely suck. So I hope that they get some love that they deserve. These prices are pretty whatever, kind of on par to Cutlasses. Don't care. The Hull A is going from 1.3 million to 3.2 million. The Prospector is going from 2 million to 3.7 million. The Reliant Core is going from 744,000 to 2.1 million. The Reliant Mako, which is the news van, is going from 780,000 to 3.1 million. So maybe that means we're going to be getting some news gameplay loops. The Reliant Sen is going from 800,000 to 2.8 thousand. Not much to really add here, and I was only kidding about the news gameplay loops. We will never get anything like that. The Starfarer is going from 6.6 million to 12 million. And the Starfarer Gemini is going from 6.1 million to 13.6 million. Not too much to really add here about the MISC lineup. I said my bit about the Freelancer series. The Reliant series is missing the Tana. The Tana is going to probably end up being the most expensive one since it's a combat variant. Gemini, Starfarer, who cares? We don't really have any gas gameplay yet anyway. Let's move on. iPhones in space. Let's get going. 100i is going from 654,000 to 1.9 million. The 125A is going from 791,000 to 2.6 million. The 135C is going from 839,000 to 2.4 million. The 300i is going from 767,000 to 2.3 million. The 315P is going from 882,000 to 2.4 million. The 325A is going from 944,000 to 3.1 million. The 350R is going from 1.6 million to 6.4 million. The 400i is going from 6.3 million to 19.2 million. The 600i is going from 9.4 million to 45 million. The 600i Touring variant is going from 9.8 million to 41.7 million. The 85X is going from 574,000 to 960,000. The 890 Jump is going from 32 million to 109.4 million. Very pricey for that chip. It's a capital though, right? Should give you an insight into what the other capitals might end up costing. And finally, the M50 is going from 1.9 million to 2.5 million. I don't have too much to say about the Origin ships. I think we can actually see the luxury price lore reasoning being put into effect here, because none of these ships are particularly good, quite honestly. So I don't think any of them justify the price for what gameplay loops we currently have. Alright everybody, let's do the Connie wave and check out RSI. Starting off with the Aurora CL, it's going from 487,000 to 1.6 million. The Aurora ES is going from 124,000 to 672,000. The Aurora LN is going from 338,000 to 1.3 million. The Aurora LX is going from 245,000 to 1 million. And the Aurora MR is going from 184,000 to 1 million. Aurora starter ships, they're all flying bricks. Who cares? Let's move on. The constellation Andromeda is going from 3.5 million to 16.1 million. The constellation Aquila is going from 4.9 million to 17.8 million. The constellation Phoenix is going from 5.6 million to 23.5 million. And the constellation Taurus is going from 3.2 million to 12.7 million. What sticks out about this to me is the Andromeda is almost twice the amount of money as the Great Corsair, and the Corsair dumps all over the Andromeda. The Mantis is going from 1.2 million to 5 million. The Scorpius is going from 2.8 million to 8 million. And the Ursa is going from 70,000 to 381,000. Nothing too worth mentioning here. The Andromeda being very pricey stands out to me. And the Scorpius being 8 million also stands out to me. And again, we do not have the Antares because it was not currently data mined in the list, so use your imagination. It's going to be probably somewhat roughly around the Scorpius in terms of pricing. Now we are at Tumbril. There's really not a whole lot here worth talking about. The entire Cyclone series is going to range from 406,000 down to 330,000. Again, ground vehicle is not that interesting. The only one that does stand out, however, is the Nova, which is going from 500,000 to 2.4 million. So you're paying a pretty big chunk for this main battle tank. We don't have the Storm or any of its variants right now. They were not data mined, but we can probably expect those to be cheaper than the Nova main battle tank. What are your thoughts on these changes? Again, it's important to remind everyone that this is by no means set in stone. Some people may call this pay to win. Do you think it is? If so, why? If not, why not? Let me know your thoughts and more in the comments, and we'll have some discussions. Thanks for watching.